And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Embark. Now, if Embark looks familiar at all, it's because it seems to be set in the same universe that Harvest and Harbor were set in, also from Tasty Minstrel Games. This is done from Philip Dubarry, though. He's done some games I've really enjoyed, particularly Revolution, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of fits into this game. This is a game in which you're sending people out to different islands to basically strip them of all their resources or colonize them or what have you. It's done in a fantasy world, kind of. There's goblins on the cover, so it must be a fantasy world. Let's take a closer look. At the beginning of the game, you're going to put islands out equal to the number of players. There's 5 different islands, and they're all double-sided. So you have a wide range of different cards that you're going to be able to play here. And you'll notice that the islands are lettered A, B, here's J, K. So out here I have C, D, E, F, G, H. It doesn't really matter which ones, but they're going to all be different. You're going to have a bunch of ship cards. You're going to put a ship at each of the locations. Each player is going to have a special ability that they'll be able to use over the course of the game, and these special abilities will affect basically how you play. They'll also have a color, and they'll have 30 cubes of that color. Now, you have a shield, and then you have an area here where you're going to be putting different people as the game goes by. And so each round of the game, the first thing you do is you'll take 5 people, plus anyone who's in your bar here. If you have anyone in the tavern, that meant they're people that you tried to put out last turn but failed, so they got returned to your tavern, so you might have more than 5. And then you're just going to decide who to send to each of the ships. So maybe I'm going to put 3 people on the G ship, 1 C, and 1 to D. After everyone decides that, you'll reveal them, and the different cubes will be placed under the ships based on who put the different things there. So after that's done, in turn order, players are going to take one person and put them on the ship in the spot that they want. So maybe the yellow player wants to go here, and the blue player wants to go here, and pink. And you can see that when all the spots are filled up on the ship, anyone who would have gone on that ship is going to have to go back to the tavern. So players are just going to take turns filling up the spots on the ship. Any ship that's completely full is basically going to launch and put all the people on the island from the front to the back. The different spots on each of the ships is going to show where on the island that person goes, although there is a few spots on ships that you can go anywhere on the island. It's kind of like a wild spot. Let me see if I can find one of those for you here. The anchor is basically wild. You can go to any of the spots you want. There's a couple right here too. So when you go to the islands and you're placing people, if you place the people on these spots here, you're going to mine. Now, I left these spots open to show you at the beginning of the game, there's numbers here, and this is how many different mining things here of ore you're going to put on each of these spots. So here I would put 5, I'd put 3 here, and I'd put 3 on this one. And between each round, if you have someone on those spots, you're going to get 1. And in fact, over here you can see there's 3 miners here. So if there's more, the top miner gets 1 first. At the end of the game, those are going to be worth points depending on how many you have. You're also going to be putting out farmers. The farmers are going to go here in the middle. And a farmer's not really worth much by itself. But once you have 4 farmers together, then you'll put a farm on top of them like this. That farm is worth 15 points as soon as you finish it. You'll have explorers. Explorers will start here at the beginning, and they'll move along. And each explorer is going to get you a point between each round. So if you put a explorer out in the first round, it's worth 6 points for that explorer. So explorers will get you points as time goes by. And at the end of the game, you're going to see how far the explorers have reached. So let's say the explorers got all the way to this spot here. Then whoever has the most colonists, the farmers out here, is going to get 20 points. Second most will get 10. Third most will get 4 in that region. So those guys can get you points more beyond that. You'll also notice there's different spots. If an explorer gets to those spots, a key will unlock, and you'll place that at the top of the board in the unlocked possession. And it says for each key found, add 1 ore to each mine on the island. Wow, so the more explorers, the more ore is going to show up. Over here it says, if unlocked, At the end of the game, whoever has the most explorers on the island is going to get points. Over here it says once unlocked, farms on this island score an additional 5 points. So instead of 20 points, or 15 points, there'll be 20 points. And that's basically it. You're just going to continue doing that. Remember, people who don't make it on are going to be pulled off. So as you pick these people on the boats, you are going to essentially put them in the mining area. This is a Viking. He's going to be kicking off somebody who's already on the island. So he takes someone else's spot, which can be kind of annoying, but yeah, hey, that's how it works. And then these are wilds. These are colonists, and the explorers are right here. And any ship that has got sent out, you'll replace it from the deck. There's all kinds of ships in the deck, and you'll go to the next round. Remember, I said everyone had special abilities. These special abilities can affect things like here, when a warrior displaces your voyager, instead of moving it to your pub, you can put it on an open space for a different job on the same island. That's actually a pretty good one. So if someone has the Viking warrior and it comes and moves me, instead of kicking me off, I move it somewhere else. Or here at the end of each island stage, you can return an unprotected colonist. Colonists, once they have the farm on top of them, they're protected, to your pub to take an ore tile. Well, that's pretty interesting. At the end of the game, you get 3 points for each set of one of each. Explore minor colonists on the same island. At the end of the game, any colonist that's not part of a completed farm is worth 3 points instead of 0. All right, so that's not too bad. So you get some extra points for your farmers. So these are going to change the game a little bit too. But that's pretty much how you play. Yeah, there's a lot of cubes in this game, but they're not red, green, blue, and yellow at least. So there are, some different colors here. The artwork in this game is the same art that's been done in the other Harbor Harvest type games, and I like it. It's kind of like a fantasy universe. Again, if it wasn't for the artwork, I would barely even know that this was a fantasy universe. The ships are fine. The iconography is fine. These are okay. I don't really like these that much. There's a lot of point tokens because you're going to be taking these over the course of the game, collecting points. That's a little fiddly, moving the points around, and it is a little weird that you have these farms that are worth 15 points, but you don't take them. I guess you can just take them at the end of the game and say they're worth 15 points for the ones that you've collected on your guys. And the boards, the boards are pretty flat and thin, but they do fit on, there's the information you need is there. It's not a complicated game, and the components are fine. The shields are sturdy. It looks good. We found, I think, a spelling or grammatical error or two, but for the most part, the components for this game are quite nice. Okay, so Embark is a fine game. And that's about the best I'm going to say about it. It's not that it's a bad game at all. It's just that I don't see this game needing to exist in a world that already has similar style games. So I mentioned Philip DeBarry did this, and he did a game called Revolution, which is a great game and has a lot of similarities to it. In Revolution, you were going to be putting money and blackmail and force on different characters, which lets you put cubes out on the board, and then you try to have the most cubes there to win the game. Very cutthroat, back and forth, fun game. Embark is doing the same thing, except you're then putting them on boats which go to islands. And in fact, this game feels like a mishmash between Revolution and another game I really like, Mission Red Planet. In that game, you were loading up rocket ships and sending them to Mars. But I won't want this to just be a comparison to other games. I want to talk about the game itself. I'm not convinced the special powers are balanced, but I'm also not convinced that it matters that much in the long run. This is a game about just outguessing your opponents so that you can fill up the boats that you want to. As the game progresses, some of the spots and boats aren't very useful. Like, for example, the mining spots. You can't go to a mining spot if they're already filled up, but you need someone to go to that stupid mining spot so that you can get the boat to go and head to the island. That's okay, right? The game seems to get less interesting as it goes by rather than more interesting. Sure, I want to finish my farmers out there, but those Viking warriors that are constantly displacing people, moving people, they're really frustrating. There's a lot of them. And so they're great to use to displace other people and move in their spots. Not so much fun when someone does that to you. And there's really nothing you can do to stop it, although that Jack of all trades special ability. But I mean, even that's just kind of like a salve on the wound. And so because of this, because there's this constant moving in, the game doesn't feel like you have a ton of control. You pick what boats you're going to. Hopefully you're not going to boats everyone else is going to. If you do, tough luck this round, maybe next round. I mean, you'll get a person or two on the boat, but not a lot. You might send 5 guys to one boat and find out no one else went to that boat. That's a great turn, and it's going to be hard for everyone else to kind of catch you in that regard. So there's some randomness in that. And the whole moving on the explorer's track and then unlocking stuff and unlocking the special abilities at the top, I get why that's there. It just didn't feel that interesting. It's like, woo, look, I unlocked this. Great. Getting explorers out, the reason for... You're just trying to get on the islands by hook or by crook. Sure, if you have your druthers, you might pick a mining guy, you might pick a farmer, you might want to go for the points. But the whole point of the game is simply, I just want to get on the island. I just want to get there. Because getting on the island is better than being sent back to the tavern and then go out next turn and hope I get on the island again. Because going back to the tavern is no points, while being an explorer gets you a point, being a farmer could get you 20 points, and the mine could get you a lot of points. I didn't mention that, by the way. The number of the ore that you collect at the end of the game can be oodles of points, right? You can get 45 points if you have 15 or more. I've never actually seen anyone do that. But if you get like 3 of them, that's 3 points at the end of the game. If you get 6, it's 10 points. So those are worth points at the end of the game. And farmers are worth 20 points, which is great, but you have to send the farmers to the island, and people are going to be knocking them out. I don't know. It's a fine game. I don't dislike it. It was interesting to play. But when it was done, I don't know that I had a whole lot of desire to play it again. It's just kind of... I put my guys on the spots and hope they get to the right places. I didn't look at someone else and go, where are you sending yours? Because I don't really have an idea. Sure, I might know that they want the 4th farmer on an island, but other than that, there's no real kind of rhyme or reason to why anyone is going to go anywhere in particular. They just want to get to an open boat and go that way. Yeah, so not a bad idea. It just feels like a sequel to Revolution and not as good. Dice Tower Judgment? Yeah, not too bad.